I actually don't think people do know how bad palm oil is. Can you teach us a little bit about what's happening to the ecosystem out in places like Sumatra and what things we need to be aware of? Because, you know, whether it be through baby food formula, things that we pick up, whether it be palm oil, various products and chemicals that are being mass produced, I don't think people realize the impact it has through the choices we can make.
Yeah, it's a really important one, and I guess inherently, to start with, nothing is good or bad. It's always the way in which we use it and the model in which it's used. With palm oil, traditionally it's run by multinational conglomerates, so it's just naturally fits into the world and all that goes with that, the way that those organizations are set up. Over the last 10 or 20 years, the way that palm oil has been financed and the way that it's done in this part of the world is you need to have large tracts of land that don't have overlapping land rights. And the easiest way to get that land is to clear a natural area of forest, of a large area, so you get your economies of scale. And that tends to be primary rainforest, and it tends to have critically endangered animals in it. So I'm in Sumatra at the moment, and your main animals are tigers, orangutans, elephants, rhinos, for example. So palm oil company comes in, you don't want any conflicting land rights, and as a bonus you get to sell the timber to finance your operation. You get bank finance if you have a large area of land and you get a concession that's issued by the government. And then you need the scale to be able to feed a mill. So palm oil kernels need to be processed within 20 hours, and so you need a reasonably close access to a mill to be able to process the oil. In another sector, for example, coconut, which is where we focused, you don't have a conglomerate type of ownership. You have smallholder farmers, and so farming families tend to own between 1 and 2 hectares, and you have massive areas of planting that they're all owned by different individual families. The challenge is that places on the sector, however, is that the smallholder farmers can't raise new funds to plant coconuts, while banks can loan to large corporations against these land holdings and their mills. We can't do that, and smallholder farmers can't do that. So one thing that we're doing at the moment is setting up a model where we can finance smallholder farmers to be able to plant.
Okay.
So one aspect of palm oil is just the way that it's structured from a legal business sense. The most significant thing is that it's cutting down rainforest, but it's really important to understand how that's happening in the model, because you can actually get sustainable palm oil. It can be done in another way, and I think it's really important not to just write off something that can actually have a lot of benefit.
So your advice is not to write off palm oil altogether as an ingredient, but to...
No, I think palm oil gets scapegoated, and it's very easy for a well-off individual to say, hey, I'm not having palm oil, but they might be walking down the street in some beautiful piece of clothing that's come from some crappy mill in Bangladesh with, we have to actually look at everything that we're doing, and it's very easy for us to think we're doing well on one thing, but not to think, hey, what am I wearing? What clothes am I wearing? Everything that we use has an impact, and the coffee we drink. So some coffee,
I was reading on your website about it's not just the palm oil, the coffee effect too. So tell us, to compare the impact, because would coconut oil have an impact? Would coconut farming have an impact too, if that grows too much, or the way that it's done?
Coconut grows on degraded land, so it's perfect between the ocean. What you get in Indonesia is beautiful. You have your ocean resources, and then you have this sort of strip alongside the ocean, which is relatively degraded, and you'll often see coconuts. And then you go up to your traditional forestry, and then your primary forest. So it's perfect on marginal land, and it fits really beautifully in a sort of in the boundaries of a natural ecosystem in this part of the world. Whereas palm oil's not like that. It takes a lot of inputs like fertilizers and water. Something like coffee, there's some really good aspects to coffee because because it's so in demand, there are initiatives where there's a lot of traceability.
Okay.
But there's a lot that isn't as well. So I would say maybe 10% of it's traced. The balance is not traced, and it's having a really negative impact on ecosystems over here.
Really?
In the south of Sumatra, where there's a lot of smallholders involved. And that's one reason why it's not only the thing that you're purchasing, the commodity that you're purchasing, but understanding the landscape that it comes from. And again, we get back to this interconnectivity, because there are actually times when the coffee that you buy and has the nice label on it forces a smallholder farmer into another part of land where it's having a negative impact.
Is there any trademark or anything that we can look out for? Is anything that you can know that that's responsibly or sustainably traced and sourced?
So every organic certified product has really high labour standards as well as a traceability component. So we're required to GPS track every farm. So look out for the label. And, any fair trade product is similar, but organic certification standards are really strong. Or I think in the EU you have BioCert as well.
Okay. That's really useful.